Good evening. This is a work session of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow. We have a relatively short agenda from this evening, but some fairly weighty subjects are on that, including some capital budget requests. But we're going to start things off tonight with a presentation and a request from Mr. Colella about a project that we support and we support wholeheartedly, and that is erecting a statue to the Gold Star mothers. And those are mothers of men and women who've lost their children in the armed services of the United States and lost them in combat. So it's a group that none of them ever wanted to be part of. And that nobody wants to be a part of, but we recognize them for their sacrifice and what they've done to raise those great children. Mr. Galella.
Okay. So my brother helped me with this. Mayor Ray and members of the board, my name is Michael Galella. I reside in Cortland Manor, and I'm here representing my father, Armando Chick Galella, of 40 DePeyster Street, Sleepy Hollow. I am also here representing the Gold Star Mothers Memorial Committee. My father is the chairman. As you know, we engaged in raising and completing the commissioning and acquisition of the Gold Star Mother statue, which will be placed at Haran's Landing, thanks to this board's actions. The statue, the grieving mother, will be a representative of John Haran's mother, her sacrifice and sacrifices made by Gold Star mothers in the Tarry Towns and beyond since World War I. We are pleased to report we will soon have a formal agreement with the Historical Society of the Tarry Towns. The Society will accept the contributions, create restricted funds, and contract for other requirements. Any funds raised more than our goal will be used for the maintenance of the statue. These funds can be accessed by the village. Currently, we are seeking a formal resolution from the village formalizing its acceptance of the statue. This resolution should state that the gift of the statue that you will accept will be made by the Historical Society of the Tarry Towns. This resolution assists us in complying with the stipulations made by that society. And we are also grateful for your donation for this project.
Our contribution.
Oh, well, yes.
Thank you. What we, if I understand this correctly, what we're being asked to do is to pass a formal resolution that endorses this project, in part because when people make a donation to any kind of a project or a donation in general, it's often better if they can make it through a nonprofit organization. In this case, the Historical Society is a nonprofit organization, and they're willing to accept the donations for the statue, so people get the credit both for donating to help erect the statue, and it's to a nonprofit, so they get that potential benefit as well. We do endorse and have endorsed this project and support this project. So really what we're being asked to do is give formal notice so that the Historical Society knows that they can play that role. And my understanding that with the Historical Society is they're going to take the money in. Everything they take in that comes for the statue is going to go back out to pay for the statue. And we thank them for doing that. And I would strongly recommend to the board that we pass a resolution to that effect.
Thank you.
Did I get it?
That's it. Yeah, the Historical Society was nice. We needed someone to take the funds, so my brother reached out to them, and they were very helpful.
And you think about it, people, you don't want to put the money, put it in a box on the porch, and people want to know that it's actually going where they want it to go, and that's a way of keeping everything straight and businesslike.
Yeah, they mentioned they actually did it for the Eagle down at, they also did it down there. So it's, again, we need an organization to take the money. So once we do this, then we have to get the Historical Society behind us, and then we can start, we have a major contributor, but after that, we're, asking for other donations, so, obviously. And we have somebody, nonprofit to give it to.
I think we'd be happy to do that. I would ask for a resolution tonight, just because I think we've already indicated our support for this project in the past. This board has. And I just hesitate only because I want to make sure that the wording of that resolution is something that's acceptable to the Historical Society.
Okay,
So what I'll do is put this on for next week.
okay,
And meaning we'll get something drafted up, we'll run it by them, then make sure it meets their needs as well as ours, and I expect that we'll pass it next week in our regular board meeting.
okay, so I don't have to come back.
No, but our
Or
meetings,
do I? I'll come back.
our meetings are really exciting and genuinely entertaining, so.
No, should I come back? I'll come back.
We're good, we're good.
I just want to add, I think this statue is so beautiful. It's really pretty, and I think Haran's Landing's such an appropriate spot for it, and I think it'll be a really nice addition to the park.
Yeah, I was gonna give you another, there's another, it's actually a closer, she's actually, you can see her tears.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually holding a telegram from the government about her passing of her son.
Oh,
And there's also a picture of her son on the mantle with a bunch of flowers like she's leaning on.
oh, wow.
This is actually in Kent, New York. It's
Mhm.
it's a beautiful statue. But I think it will be too.
We look forward to this project being completed.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
efforts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank them. Thank everyone.
I don't know if they can, if you walk this way,
If you walk in front, you can
and
say
then you
thank
can
to
wave
them.
goodbye to little.
Thank you so much from the Galala family.
All right, that worked.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night. Take care. Okay, we're going to move on to our continuing presentations on capital budgets. First up is Sleepy Hollow Ambulance Corps, and I'm going to say this at the beginning, and that is we deeply appreciate the efforts that the Ambulance Corps and all of its members have made over the course of this past year. It's been a difficult one, I know, for all of us, but even more so for you guys, continually being out there with what you do normally, and then with coronavirus on top of everything else. It's just an added layer of tension, and it's made life more difficult in so many ways. And we know for members of the Ambulance Corps as well. So we appreciate the fact that people who lost their jobs continued to volunteer for the Ambulance Corps, and that really says an awful lot about that. And it says an awful lot about your leadership as well.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go on and deny all your capital budget requests,
Perfect.
but
What were your things?
I'm waiting till she starts.
Got it. Okay.
All right. Not to confuse all of you guys, but it appears there was two different packets. One I had given to Sarah. So the color copied ones, which you guys at home don't have, but the colored copy ones are the ones I gave you guys today. The black and white ones are missing a few things just to make it more complicated. So the first thing we were requesting is body armor to have that in the event of, God forbid, there's an active shooter situation at the extreme, but just day-to-day calls. We would have body armor on the ambulance so that we'd be able to go in and either rescue the first responders inside or rescue the victims. There was, before the pandemic, a lot of training went through the local emergency services, through the fire department and the ambulance corps to start rescue task forces, and they would kind of respond as a secondary to the police. The police would go in, and then once they are kind of engaging the threat, then the ambulance corps or the fire department combined could come in and they would be able to rescue people that were able to be saved. So that would add, obviously that's in the far extreme, but just in the day-to-day, we do encounter a lot of mental health emergencies where people do have the potential to have weapons. So in here, there is actually a picture of the one we were looking at getting. It is like high visibility, so we would be completely differentiated from the police department and a less like tactical look and more of just to know that we're there just to help. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the port account fit testing machine, which is a fit testing machine that's used to test for N95s or for SCBAs, which is what the fire department uses, and the police department also has them in the event of some sort of, obviously N95s for the pandemic, but also the fire department to go into fires, and then also with other chemical agents if the police department, fire department, or ambulance corps had to go in. And by OSHA standards, every year you are supposed to be fit tested, and we are currently relying on the county's machines to be borrowed from them. And with that, obviously through the pandemic, it was a increased spike and there was some wait time and lag time into getting it. We were able to borrow a different machine from Ossining, which is different testing. And the testing for those rely on your sense of taste and smell. And as we know through the pandemic, a lot of people lost their sense of taste and smell. So as we were testing people to make sure they had the right fit, it wasn't as accurate because they weren't able to taste the agent that you were putting in to make sure they had a good seal on their mask. So this machine would be able to test anyone we would be able to test anyone. So the ambulance corps, the police department, the fire department, even if say like the building department had to go into a building, we would be able to fit test them to know that they have the right fit test for masks. The next thing is the Motorola duty pagers. As Mike and Johnny said last week, these are the pagers that all of our responders carry on them to know when there's a call. Additional information is given out through the pagers that's not necessarily given out through the iPages that we get. So as we're responding to a call, if there's updated information, either that the scene is safe or the scene is no longer safe and police department needs us to wait, or if there's updated information, a lot of times through COVID, they would give COVID symptoms through the page out rather than through the text message. So each member having a pager is pretty vital. And then the next item is building improvements. I know in the past Richie's requested a new building, and I know that at some point we would like a new building, but the reality of that happening at this point in time is not necessarily going to happen. So we would like to reseal the floors. The concrete is kind of getting broken up, so it just creates a lot of dust, making it nearly impossible to clean on a day-to-day basis. And then we'd like to remodel the office with the potential of making the office smaller and making a single bunk room so that someone could sleep in there in a bunk bed. So you could have two people sleep in there ideally. And then the last thing is, which was added, so this is not on the original one, but it is on the color copy, is the Ecolux Tech sanitizing machine. I had put in for a grant for this and just recently got denied for the grant, so that's why I got added in here. So it uses salt, electricity, and water to create hypochlorous acid, which is used as a cleaning solution that we've been using to clean the ambulance buildings, the police car, the police department. Johnny's been using it to clean the playgrounds. DPW's been using it to sanitize all their equipment as well. So it creates a non-toxic cleaning solution that is tested to kill the coronavirus as well as every other, most other bacterias. So with the machine, it is the initial cost of the $7,000, but after that, there is no other cost other than the water and adding the salt and the electricity to it. So it would be vital to be able to use throughout the entire village and cleaning all of our surfaces. So like I said, we've been using it to clean the ambulances, and knock on wood, we've been really healthy and not really contracted a lot. The police department has been using it. We cleaned all the playgrounds with it. And then attached to just all the other quotes and everything.
So a question on the last item on this Ecolux
Yep.
machine. So you've been using the solution, the hypochlorous acid, and you said the police department has, and the fire department, DPW. So what machine is creating the stuff now?
So we originally were taking it from Ossining. They were making and giving it to us. And we've been making it in very small, we can make it a liter at a time. So we are spending a lot of time making individual liters and pouring them into larger containers that are kind of just sitting and then being distributed out. So this machine would make an endless supply where we'd be able to just keep pouring it out rather than having to make it a liter at a time and store it until we need it.
And do we have a machine? So you've been using one from Ossining.
So we had during the pandemic borrowed, you've been using Ossinings, and then we were able to purchase, I purchased two machines that we've been using between the police department and the ambulance corps. 2 1-liter containers that we've been using. So we
Okay.
can only make 2 liters at a time, rather than, which gets used very quickly when cleaning the building.
So we have 2 machines in the village now, and they can make each a liter at a time.
It looks like a little like Brita pitcher.
So, but we have 2 machines in the village now, and we're using them for everybody. So this could be, in that sense, a request that could come from the police department, it could come from DPW, it could come from the fire department.
Boardy has graciously allowed us to kind of home base it out of the police department because it is accessed 24 hours a day. So usually DPW comes in, they get their solution. I take it down to the ambulance building, and then the police department uses it, and Marcel uses it to clean the rest of Village Hall and clean the police department.
So this would be a request to add to the capacity for the entire village, not really an ambulance corps. Okay. Other questions?
Say how much that is, because they
I
may
think
not.
you said 7,000?
It was $7,328.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Any of the members of the board who are participating via teleconferencing?
No.
Okay. Hey, just, can you guys say like yes or no and not shake your heads so I can actually, thank you, Sam?
No for me.
Okay, all right. And Sandra is a no. All right, so no further questions, right? Right? Okay,
Right.
okay, thank you.
And thank you again for your continued support in LoSAP. So hopefully it'll go well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us
Thank
all. We
you.
have an important election coming up on October 3rd.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up is our police department. Chief Boetti?
Good evening, Mayor, Board, everybody at home, who are also board members, of course. As you can see, there's several repeat items, but I'd really like to draw your attention to the police radio line. It's on the last page. Over the past 3 to 4 years, we've been upgrading our radio system, which the board has so graciously gave us funding for. This should be the last component of that radio upgrade, and this is basically replacing all of our portable radios that the officers hold on their persons. The current radios are Motorola, and they're anywhere from 15 to 20 years old, and they just definitely outlived their lifespan. We're incurring more repairs to the actual radios themselves. We're able to upgrade the vehicle radios in the car as we're replacing the vehicles under the vehicle capital project. So with that, that should be the last we see of hopefully the radio line and the capital projects for some time. Then, of course, if we direct you to the first page with the police department vehicles. This too, we've also been upgrading over the past 4 years, I believe, and this should be hopefully the last 2 replacements for some time. Right now, vehicles 504 and 506 are were used primarily as a backup unit. However, with the unexpected Con Edison invasion over the past several years, they've been used quite frequently and are becoming costly to repair. So essentially, if we could replace these 2 vehicles, we'd be able to take 2 medium-wear vehicles, place them as backups, or just rotate the inventory around so that they're not getting as much use. The mileage on the vehicles, unfortunately, don't appear to be that high. They're approximately 58,000 in 504 and 60,000 in 506. But once again, like I've said in the past, the rule of thumb is to either triple or quadruple that mileage to get a true test of it. Fortunately, with these the newer vehicles that are coming out, we actually have hour meters, so that will be going forward, will be our measurement on when we see them, the cost is, to repair is ineffective and time to replace. The other items, police motorcycle, as I've requested maybe just last year for the first time, or maybe
No,
2 years
before
ago for
that.
the first time. Like I said, as early as 1908, police motorcycles have been used in traffic enforcement. Motorcycle units hold a unique position within the police department. They have many functions, including traffic enforcement, patrol duties, escorts, public relations, and parades. As you know, unfortunately, this year isn't a good example of all the events we have, but we do have a lot, parades, marathons, triathlons, where you have a nice classy look for the village to have our own police bike leading those events.
Question for you before you
Go
go
ahead.
on, Chief. How do, if we had a motorcycle for the police department, how do you qualify officers to use it?
First, they would have to have a motorcycle license.
Just like anybody else would have?
Correct.
Normal, okay.
Secondly, they have to take a quite intensive motorcycle school course, which is much like the EVOC course, where you learn to drive the police car in emergency operations. It's quite an intense course where they have you actually driving up and down stairs in public parks through sand pits. And you have to be an experienced rider. And from what I understand, the training's in Yonkers. From what I understand of the training, the instructors in Yonkers know within 8 hours of the first day whether they're going to be able to complete the 2-week training or not.
Do
So-
they throw people out after the first day?
I'm sorry.
Do they throw people out after the first day?
I think they strongly recommend that you continue to practice and go on. And like I said,
They call the chief
their rule
and
of thumb.
say-
It's not
Okay,
if or when you dump the bike, it's how you dump the bike. And they also show the safe measures of how to not injure yourself as you're falling
Mhm.
off the bike.
the training to do this is 2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks. And last I checked, there wasn't a charge on that. Yonkers puts on the school themselves with instructors throughout the county. Also, our police canine unit, of course, we still have that grant that is set to expire, and whether we want it or not in the spring. She said that, talking to Kate from the Stanford Foundation, she said we could always withdraw it if we, and apply again. They are a private foundation, so they figure they have funds good through the next 5 years. The amount of the grant was $25,000 at the time. She said it just went up another $2,000. So the cost here is just more for the canine car itself. There's also an additional $10,000 that we could apply for through this grant to help cover the cost of the officer going to the training with the police dog.
Mm-hmm.
And last is our firearms range. We are quite lucky to have a firearms range down here, and it's desperately due for an upgrade. Yeah, as of now, we switched over to lead-free ammunition down there back in 2015, but there's still remnants of the lead from previous years, so part of the upgrade would be the cleaning, as well as a motorized targeting system, which would allow us to train more under more stressful conditions as far as the target moving or not. We'd also be able to do less than lethal threats with that targeting system. So that's really concludes my request for a capital project for this year.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the chief?
Chief, I have a question. The two police vehicles, the requested cost is $160,000, so that would be $80,000 per. I'm just wondering, what is the actual cost of the vehicle itself versus the upgrades needed to make it suitable to be a police vehicle?
The cost of the vehicle itself is 38,000 and change, and then the addition of a computer, the lights, the sirens, as well as outfitting the trunk space of it, the cage for the prisoner, occurs the other costs, as well as a radio. And I did put
So
in
it's
for one of
about
the.
40,000 and change for the upgrades.
Correct.
And is it the same vehicles that we currently have in the fleet, the newer ones?
Yes, they'd be the SUV type for the,
Yeah.
right, the only company that makes a sedan right now suitable for law enforcement is the Dodge Charger, and it's not, they're having issues with repairs with that at an early age, as far as like 3 years on patrol. They're incurring costs that are expensive costs in repairs on those vehicles.
Have a Charger
you.
and big enough back seat to
It's-
put some,
Well, the way they designed the cage, they kind of, you know, in most cars in the back where the back windshield comes down, they kind of move the whole seat back into the trunk area, so you lose trunk area, but you gain more space in the back seat area.
okay.
It's a tight fit. The sedans, especially nowadays with our gun belts, I mean, I'd challenge any one of you, we'll suit you up and let you get in our Ford sedan down there, and it's going to be tight. But with that challenge, you have to spend 8 hours in it.
I got a feeling that one of those things would probably go off if I was wearing it, so no thank you, but thank you. Any other questions for the chief? Or I can look right there, I guess. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is our Department of Public Works, Mr. Gross.
Good evening to the board that's present and those that are at home. First of all, I haven't seen most of you since last meeting, but I'd just like to thank you for the salary adjustment.
Certainly.
You all should have a packet that was given out by Sarah. And the first item on the list is something that New York State has mandated. They constantly change the regulations on inspections of vehicles. We do safety inspections on our heavy vehicles. That's all that we are required. But now New York State has come out and said that you have to have this diagnostic analyzer that when the truck is plugged in, that report goes directly to Albany. So if the truck fails, it fails. If we don't have that unit, I have to jockey around throughout the county and across the river to take the vehicles there to be inspected. And naturally, when you go to a dealer, they're going to find things wrong with the vehicle, and they're going to have a hefty bill. First, I'd like to thank Trustee Levy for coming down, taking some time to actually see what I am requesting. And it's basically 3 vehicles. One is a 10-wheel dump. It's 24 years old. It has been a main workhorse during snowstorms. I had to put a lot of money into it last year. I need 4 10-wheel dump trucks. And I can tell you, one does Bedford Road and that whole area up in there. One does Route 9, and two do Phillips Manor. And then I put a newer truck up in the Sleepy Hollow Manor. When that one on Route 9 breaks down, which it has always, I have to pull one of them trucks out of the manor to cover Route 9. So this truck has seen its days. It's, I put about $25,000 into the vehicle to keep it on the road. I sat down with my mechanic, and we started this process of the capital request back in June. We went through every vehicle and what is practical to replace this year. That is one of the ones he came right out with and said, get rid of it. It's a money pit. And we will put it out for auction if we get a replacement for it. You see the replacement cost, those are exact figures. You can talk about it yourself, but those are all to the penny, and they are all on contracts, New York State contracts, which Sarah loves. The third item on the second page is a 6-wheel Sterling dump truck. The truck had to have the dump body removed because of the rot and would not go up anymore, and just everything was wrong with the truck. I saved it by putting a spreader on the vehicle, but can only be used naturally during the winter time. And I can just jump back one. The 10-wheeler is actually, the body is chained, has a chain running through the frame and around the dump body to keep the dump body from bouncing around, because it cannot be raised at all. So for safety reasons, we chained it down. The 6-wheeler is a 2003 Sterling. Sterling is no longer in business. It is hard for us to get parts for that vehicle. And again, it's only good during the winter time, and I can't do anything with it during the summer months. Again, exact figures are there, and again, they are all on contracts, New York State contracts. Item number 4, you can jump over. I can always, if something goes down, I can always rent a machine. Item number 5 is a new F-350. I think you've seen some of them on the road. I have 2 of them, and we're waiting for license plates for one of them. And I have another dump truck, which is about 3 years old. So the purchase of this truck would completely upgrade the small fleet. Would not be asking for any small fleet with dump bodies and spreaders for a couple of years. We can get by. But the truck that it's replacing, you can see the photo of the truck. It's an embarrassment to put the truck on the road. It is totally rusted out, but due to needing vehicles, especially on like recycling day, I have to use the vehicle. But again, Bob says, get rid of it. And I agree with Bob. I'm not putting any more money into it. So if something goes, it goes. And it's not like we can salvage the cab and the engine. That's totally gone also. Everything inside, the floorboards are rotted away. So that last purchase will upgrade us great. So those are the 3 main vehicles that I'm asking for. You can add them up, see what the total comes to. And then the normal that we put in for is fire hydrants. I started a program probably about 15 years ago of replacing 5 fire hydrants in the system. Some of them go back to the original water system, well over 125 years old. When fire department, when we go out, some of the hydrants we have to use. We've had some that have failed due to the age, and unfortunately, one of them failed on the fire on the corner of Clinton and Beekman. We had to go to an alternate source. So again, we used up our 5 for this year, and looking to normally just go with another 5. So again, quickly recapping, it's just 3 vehicles that I'm asking for this year. And the 3 vehicles that they're replacing will go out to auction, and you'll get something for them. You're not going to get a lot, but you will get something for them.
Richie?
How many fire hydrants do you think we have that still need to be replaced?
That need to be replaced, probably over the course of time, we need about another 100. Yeah. But if we do 5 a year, it will catch up.
So I just want to compliment Richie on his hydrant replacement program, which is vital for a village as small as ours. Yet we have plenty of hydrants that are at least 20 to 30 years old, and I'm totally in favor of replacing a half dozen every year. That's not even counting the ones that need to get replaced because they broke. So hydrants are the life source for the fire department. Once you have a fire, the worst thing is to not have a working operating hydrant. That's the start of every firefighting operation. So I just want to thank him for having the foresight to, I guess because he is a volunteer fire chief, he understands how important they are. So we're lucky to have that. I took the opportunity to go down to the garage yesterday and look at the vehicles, because I thought Richie was asking for a lot of vehicles, and I really wanted to understand what the problems were, what the needs were, and what we were trying to replace. So vehicle AV 4019 is a 1997 with chains holding the chassis to the body of this truck. It's parked in the corner. Richie can only use it in the winter time in snowstorms. He doesn't really want to take it out too much. It looks like an antique, and it doesn't look very safe to be in. I had trouble opening the door. It was rusted out completely. It's actually a compliment to the village that Bob, the mechanic, and his staff, Dan and Richie, actually keep this thing on the road when they can. Not an ideal situation. Second vehicle is AV 4024. It's a 2003. Seems newer, right? But it's 17 years old. I opened the front door and I was shocked to see the seat was all chewed up, and there was floors. I could see the ground through the floorboards. All right. I'm surprised that our DPW staff even want to get in this truck. But again, it's not used every day. It has a rotted out back bed. So I'm sure garbage and the fluids from garbage are pouring out as the guys pick up stuff. Richie said they use it carefully. They use it to pick up dry couches and furniture that people throw out. Again, he's doing the best with what he has, but I think we could do a little better on this one. And the third vehicle was AV 4011. Again, another 2003. It looks like it should be in a museum. It's a Sterling. I've never heard of that truck. Don't even know if they can get parts for it anymore. Again, Bob, the mechanic, and Dan have done a tremendous job keeping these going. So I would just say, after seeing these yesterday, I have some photos I can forward you. I can't get them to put it on my screen right now, but I'm going to forward the board, Richie, these photos that I took yesterday, just, so they can see. I really got in close and took some good pictures. So, but that's all I want to add. I mean, I think it was good to go down and see them. And if any of the trustees have any questions, they should also do the same. But these photos may answer some of your questions. Okay.
Thanks, John.
Any other questions from the board or comments? Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Thanks,
Again, any
Richie.
appreciation on any of them is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Richie.
Yeah,
Right.
thanks for your hard
Sure
work.
thing.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, it's, looks like we may be in a position to award a bid for the Cortlandt Street sewer project. Mr. Giacchio, you want to walk us through that?
Yes, this is a community development block grant project. It's to improve our sewer system on Cortlandt Street. We do have a sewer problem, especially at the bottom of the hill, that needs to be repaired. We also have an issue with a lot of the storm drains from property owners going into the sewer system, which is not by law allowed now. The buildings were built so long ago that it was common, but now we have to address that issue. We went out to bid. I know the board has got a lot
If
of
you could
projects.
stop for just a moment, just to clarify that for folks who think of a sewer and a waste line and don't know the difference. And basically, sewers are rainwater that comes off the streets or off your home, and that is supposed to flow out to the Hudson River. And wastewater is what comes from your bathroom or your kitchen, your dishwasher, anything else interior to your home. And that needs to be treated before it's released, and the rainwater is not. If you put the rainwater into the same system with the wastewater, then in a big rainstorm, it overwhelms the treatment facilities. And when a treatment facility is overwhelmed, meaning a sewage treatment plant, they have one choice. They can't stop the stuff from coming in, but they can open up the gates on the other side. And what you end up with is these situations where in severe storms, the raw sewage is released into the Hudson River. And we may look at that and say, well, who cares? It's down county in Yonkers. Well, the Hudson is very tidal, as we all know, and it flows right back up here to us as well. So we need to do everything we can to fix the older parts of the system so that we're not overwhelming it, or at least Sleepy Hollow is not overwhelming it. We're not contributing to that problem.
So I know the board has had a lot of projects of late, but that's a good thing because we're coming out of the pandemic in a big way, and we're doing some important projects for the village. This is a community development block grant project. Half of it is being paid for through the grant, and the village has the match. And we have already borrowed for that money last year in our capital budget. You could see that we had a very successful bid, as we had in the last few bids. I think is about 10 bidders. The lowest bidder was Jokin Development Corporation, and our engineer, which is James Hahn Engineering, that's working on this project, is recommending the low bidder, Jokin Development, at $491,055. And I would like the board to consider awarding this bid next week.
Any questions for Mr. Giacchio on this?
Nope.
If there are not, we'll ask council to prepare a resolution for next week so we can award the bid. Okay. That concludes our work session agenda. I wanted to ask for a motion to go into special session for the purpose of considering a resolution. Actually, I want to add another resolution to this, but can I get a motion to go into special session?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. John, Sam, Glenn, I heard
Yes,
Sandra.
aye.
Aye.
Oh, great, I see the
Sandra.
thumbs, great. All right, that's unanimous. This is a special session of the Board of Trustees. Our first order of business this evening is to consider a resolution that will award a bid for the Hudson Plaza project, which we've discussed at various meetings in the past. My preference would be if somebody could read the resolution. If we get a second, then we can have further discussion on that.
Sure. A resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Sleepy Hollow awarding the bid for the Hudson Plaza project, whereas the village duly solicited bids for construction of the Hudson Plaza Hudson Plaza Park project, and received 5 bids, and whereas the project involves construction in accordance with specifications and other contract documents prepared by Yost Design Landscape Architecture, LLC, Yost, and whereas Tony Casal Incorporated was the lowest bidder at $321,000 and has been found by Provident Design Engineering to be a responsible bidder. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby determines that Tony Casal Incorporated is the lowest responsible bidder for the project and awards the contract for the project to Tony Casal Incorporated on its bid of $321,000. And be it further resolved that, subject to New York law, the village should seek to negotiate with Tony Casal Incorporated and explore other possibilities to reduce the cost of the project. And be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to enter into a contract with Tony Casal Incorporated to perform the services set forth in its bid, which contract shall be in form acceptable to village council. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 That's unanimous. Thank you. I would like to ask the board to consider another resolution. We got a request for a block party for this Saturday on Farrington between Monroe and Bellwood. And I believe it's a block party that occurs pretty much every year. I don't have any particular concerns about social distancing and so on, but I think these, like most block parties, it's confined to the people who actually live on the block. It's, pretty easy to get out there and spend some time with your neighbors and do it in a way that is still responsible. So I'd like to let them know that it's okay to go ahead and do this. The police department's already been notified, and it would, I think, be helpful to approve this. So I'd ask for a resolution to approve it and for you to pass it.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
So when they requested the block party, did they say, we're going to practice social distancing and,
In their
adhere to-
request, did they say that?
yeah.
I'm not sure if they said that in their request. But I think that what we could do if we approve this, what we should do if we approve this is to say to them, we expect that, you will follow the usual norms. We don't need, a new
An outbreak.
outbreak. Oh, I forget one of the, not breeder centers, but,
Right.
yeah, it's like, come on, folks, we've been really good so far. Let's keep it that way. But I think, it's when you see those kinds of events, it really tends to be limited to, it's the neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah, if we
so,
can do that, then I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, any noes or abstentions? Okay, I think everybody voted the affirmative. Thank you all. Mr. Giacchio, please inform the folks from the block who requested this. Can I get a motion to end the special session?
So moved.
Seconded?
You know, you guys, you men and women who are on the board, who are observing this via teleconferencing, can also move and second resolutions as well. It doesn't have to be the people here in the room. So for future reference. Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, our special session is adjourned, and we're back in our work session, and we have completed our work for the evening. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe and have a pleasant week.